I'm getting a call from someone. Let's pick up his phone and get him into the show. Steve, good morning. You're on the Market Open, or you're live with us on the Market Open. You're not on the Market Open.
You know, there's one word that people used to say to me, momentum, and that works both ways.
It does work both ways, indeed. That is correct. That is correct.
That works both ways, sir.
Palantir is 5 cents away. No, never mind. It's not 5 cents away. It is now at 92. What's your take, Steve?
I think I just saved myself a lot of money.
Well, we're getting some momentum to the downside now. There you go.
We're getting some momentum to the downside is right.
So, I mean, tell me what your take on this. Why do you think this is happening? And then the broader market. How do you feel about some of the red we're seeing?
Palantir should have never got to the level it was at. It is a phenomenal company. They're doing things nobody else can do. They should trade at a premium because their moat is incredible. And they have the largest companies doing business with them. Their net dollar retention is at a good level. Zero debt. And they are a growth machine. At some point, you can pay too much for growth.
Yeah.
And Palantir being a higher market cap than Cisco is insanity. And being within 40 billion of Salesforce is insanity. And I am glad that the insanity is starting to leave, because this is just, it should have never got this high, ever. The fact that it pumped more on the NASDAQ news than S&P news was a telltale sign, considering how much bigger the S&P index funds are than the Qs. And it's just trading at 100 times earning, 100 times sales was insanity. And I think people really need to realize that great companies, even though they're a great company, their stock can become ridiculous in the short term.
Yeah, I mean, the market giveth, the market take it away. Let me ask you this question. Let's say the pump to 125 was institutional, and now the institutions are seeing a 25% decline in a matter of like 3 days. How do you think the toots are thinking about this? Do you think they're buying the dip? Do you think they're saying, let me get the hell out? How would you be?
I wouldn't be surprised if this move down is being triggered by stop losses. People buying at 110 or 120, throwing a 115 or a 105 stop loss on. That type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think this has to do with Corp selling $1 billion of shares or a Pentagon news.
It doesn't help.
It definitely doesn't help. I agree. It doesn't help. But I agree with you. I think it was extended. Market's taking a breather. I mean, instead of being up 60%, it's up 30%.
Am I saying it can't go back there? No, that's not what I'm saying. It can easily go back there. I don't think it goes back there this year. I mean, look, a more realistic level is 60. A much more realistic level. And at 60, a lot of people still made a lot of money. And when you look at what Palantir is expected to do, keep in mind, this is still a company that is only expected to generate 56 cents of earnings this year per share. 70 cents next year and 95 cents in 2027. So let's just use $1 for 2027 to make the math easy. At the current price, it's still trading at around 91 times 2027 earnings, 92 times 2027 earnings.
Yeah.
That is ridiculously expensive.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously the stock was trading on narrative versus fundamentals. So right now the bulls and bears are kind of having it, or not even bulls and bears, but the fundamentalists versus the narrative driven buyers are debating on the stock right now. Right. And either the narrative people are going to win or the fundamental people are going to win. But the narrative has been winning for the majority of the year. Now, not winning as much. And we saw this with Tesla as well. Right? When Tesla was at 480, that was really off narrative, and then fundamentals came in and it took a little bit of a dip.
You know what I love? And obviously I'm not reading the chat, but I love how continuously when I say things are overvalued, I keep being told that I don't understand growth. And I really think people just don't understand investing.
Yeah, I mean, look, at almost 300 billion, I don't think anyone with a brain could say that Palantir was cheap. And so,
I mean, the Tesla is 450 too.
yeah, I mean, Tesla was pushing 2 trillion. Like, I guess.
I mean, and this is coming from somebody who thinks Tesla's going to be the most valuable company in the world in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
But at some point, people have to be realistic about things. And I mean, you're paying 26 times 2032 earnings at this point. That's not a good investment.
Yeah, look, and the other thing is, look, even if they get the Doge contract and all that stuff, a lot of that still is narrative, and that narrative has to fight back against the math. And we're gonna see. Also, I mean, look, this is like, we just gotta be honest about it. Karp and Sham, and they sold like, I think, close to a couple million shares on Friday. I mean, they sold at $100, $102. They sold for a reason. They're also taking some profits.
And they have every right to.
Yeah,
look, these are people that did not have a liquidity market pool to pull from. They had shares locked up for 2 decades when this was in the private markets. They really didn't have an avenue to sell. And they finally have an avenue to sell. They created a phenomenal company. They have every right to take a profit. Every right. Nobody can be mad at them for doing that. Because you know what? Everybody that's in their situation would have probably done the same thing. But at the same time, you don't see any insiders buying Palantir.
Yeah.
So if insiders are selling and it has this crazy of a valuation, it's hard. I mean, did people really think this was going to 150 or 180? I know the answer is yes.
Oh, the answer. I mean, if you saw the call option volume, the answer is yes. Yeah.
Yeah. People thought that this was going to keep going. And while I was worried that it had the potential to keep going because of the momentum, I continuously said it didn't make any sense because it is so far ahead of its skis at this point.
Yeah, and also it's not healthy. It's never healthy for a stock to be trading that above its intrinsic value because now look, Palantir down from 125 to 90 makes the stock look stupid in terms of its chart, when in reality, as you said, it probably should have never got there in the first place. And it makes people look dumb for even seeing that it got to those levels, but it traded on narrative when it got to 125. Baba's down 9%. Any thoughts on why Baba's getting hit as badly as well?
No, I'm not following it. I'm out of Baba. So
yeah, so you kind of sold into strength with the rest of the market here.
Yeah, I mean, I was down for a long time. I got my cost basis. I don't even know what it was at. It was around 100. Maybe it was just below 100, something like that. But yeah, when it got up to around 135, 140, I hit the sell button. And I said, you know what? Even though I think it's worth 2 or 250, I got my money back. I made some money on it. NVIDIA earnings are coming up. I rolled into NVIDIA. If I buy it, I could very well buy back in the Bob next week. I think Bob is a phenomenal company, but I think that NVIDIA is going to have a incredible quarter. I think their guidance is going to be super strong based on all the guidance that we've seen. So I'm going to ride that wave for a little
What
bit.
happens to the market, which is pretty much going red across the board now?
Don't ask that question.
If
You don't want that answer.
NVIDIA misses, what happens to this market, Steve?
You really want that answer?
I want that answer. I can handle the truth.
All right. Well, if you can handle the truth, the NASDAQ's not going to be down triple digits. It's going to be down quadruple digits. You're not going to get a NASDAQ down freaking 400 or 500 points.
I mean, it's going to be ugly.
I should say the Dow, because that was probably what I was looking at. That was down 750. The Dow will be down quadruple digits. The NASDAQ will probably be down 500 points. It's going to be bad. That's just one day.
What's the percentage chance on NVIDIA missing earnings, in your opinion?
It's a coin flip. Everything's 50-50. Either it happens or it doesn't.
I think it's more. I think it's less than a coin flip on the missing earnings.
It's either they make earnings or they don't. You have two outcomes. Where the variables stack up, I think the variables are implying that they're going to beat earnings.
Yeah, I mean, I think they beat. I think where you're right on the coin flip is like, what does the guidance look like? Because look, all the hyperscalers are spending on CapEx, but we still don't officially know if NVIDIA is going to capitalize on all that CapEx yet.
Well, but we know that they are going to be a big beneficiary and they can't keep up with demand. So that's positive.
Correct. That is positive. That's right.
So, I mean, I think they're going to beat. I think they're going to have a guy in Trays. I mean, Webbush put out the same thing earlier. So, I mean, not that saying much because them and Tom Lee are Super Bowls, but
yeah. Robinhood below 50, folks. 49.92 on Hood.
Where's Hims at? Is Hims going down too?
Oh, Hims is 45.03. That's down 9%.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. What was I saying? That these companies are going to all sell off. Look at that.
Yeah, well, look, I don't think it took a genius to realize that we got really hot in February. And
no, it took people that don't get emotional about the market.
Yeah, and also look, here's another thing. I want to say this because I didn't sell any of my Pounter. I didn't sell any of my Robinhood. But that's
neither did I.
Right, because we're holding on for a decade. So for the far majority of people that are listening to us right now, you probably don't need to time that little itty bitty moment where you get 65 on Hood or 125 on Pounter, but it still hurts. Obviously, it's just
look. It's not fun. You don't want to see people lose money. But the big thing is, and I see people saying it all the time. Well, if you thought it was going to go down, why didn't you sell? Well, the tax implications.
Yeah.
Why would I want to sell at 120, pay the tax to the government just to buy back in and lose those shares?
Correct.
And play that game. It's not worth it.
Correct. 100%. 100,000%. It's just, again, it's annoying to see your net worth go down, but it's not like selling was the solution.
You know what's funny? My account balance is not going down because of my covered calls.
Well, there you go.
So I'm not even feeling it because I didn't have that money anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, this is why covered calls are useful. That's correct.
I mean, if Palantir goes back down to 60, like I think it's going to, or that I feel it should, I'm going to buy back every last covered call immediately.
Okay, so here's the question. Do you think you're being a little too greedy waiting to buy back the covered calls, or?
Probably.
I think you are,
I can't predict what's going to happen. But just as people thought it was going to 150 or 180, I didn't think it was going to stay at this level. And look, this could be a shakeout. Maybe it goes to 80. I don't know. But I don't think it's getting past 100 anytime soon.
Yeah. Yep, that is fair. Oh, in general, the broader market, why do you think we're taking a breather? Like, is there a reason in your opinion?
I don't know. I'd have to look more into it. It's probably because of the PMI data. People are probably waiting on economic data this month or this week, actually. I mean, I don't know.
Also, block, bro. Holy crap. 67. My goodness.
Yeah, it needs to keep going down so I can buy more.
Yeah, that one's getting hit. Archer's getting hit. Celsius had a good pump last week, but at this point, it's algos. Amazon's down 15% from the highs. I mean, everything.
Look, if block goes to 50, like that's one of the most screaming buys you could have.
I don't love block, but I hear your point.
I don't care about management. I don't really care about the company, but the bottom line is you look at their earnings growth, 32% this year, 24% next year, and 25% in 2027. They're expected to generate $4.45 of EPS, over PE of less than 16 at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense from a dollar standpoint. So I'm fine buying on the way down the same way I did with PayPal. PayPal worked out pretty good for me.
What do you think about Buffett having almost $400 billion in cash?
Who cares?
What do you mean? Who cares? He's Buffett. You can't be that egotistical to not care about Buffett.
It has nothing to do about egotistical. Okay, too many people care about what Buffett does
because he's Buffett.
No, but that's exactly my point. The guy is not some super investor. The guy put together an amazing company, which is basically a holding company. He bought the right. Look, I'm not taking anything away from the guy. I'm not taking anything away from the guy. He did something not many people or nobody else can replicate. Okay, bought all these great companies and created something nobody's going to create. But from an investment standpoint, what has he done? What is he called? Like, really think about it. He has bought a lot of boring stuff, and he sits and waits.
I mean, first of all,
Nothing against him.
Berkshire has compounded 5 million% since 1960. The S&P has compounded 40,000%.
I get that, but from an investment standpoint, he is not even in top 10 investors.
I disagree. Okay, I would disagree.
Chris Camillo is a way better investor than Buffett.
Okay, hold on. You're not going to say Chris Camillo is a way better investor than Buffett. Buffett manages hundreds of billions. Chris Camillo manages like hundreds of millions.
Matter. It doesn't matter.
Oh, but then I'm a better investor than Buffett if I manage.
Forget the overall number. Forget the overall number. Okay. There are too many people that have gotten a lot of things right that have a higher ROI than Buffett. Did Buffett get Amazon? Did he invest in
He missed tech. Yes, he missed tech, but that does not mean that he's not worth looking at in terms of his moves on the market.
I'm not saying that he's not worth looking at, but the guy's still buying Sirius XM radio.
Yeah, I don't know how to make sense of that one. I don't know how to make sense of that one.
I mean, listen, the guy's still buying Sirius XM radio. The guy was freaking funding the Kraft Heinz merger and had a ton of capital locked up in that. You actually go through his portfolio. Would you own half those companies?
No, I'm a different type of investor. I don't want.
And I'm saying from somebody who loves income investing, I wouldn't own half those companies.
Okay, well, regardless, he's holding on to this much in cash. Do you think it's a warning or?
No, he probably wants. No, it hasn't happened. He probably wants one last hurrah before he leaves, and I think he's going to go on an acquisition spree. I think he's going to buy Occidental Petroleum. I think it makes sense. He's a huge shareholder. He has a huge energy portfolio in Berkshire, and I think he's going to buy some companies.
All right, last question for you, Steve. SMCI down 9%. What do you think happens with this one now?
Tomorrow's D-Day. They need to file. They don't file tomorrow. It's going to be a waste.
Yeah, I agree. Tomorrow will be important.
It is what it is. Palantir 90. Palantir's down $10. What do you know?
Palantir. Wow, we are 60 cents away from below 90.
And look at the amount of shares traded already. 90 million shares at 10.05.
Wow.
People are getting the freak out of this.
Yeah, Tesla 326, Rock Lab 2190. It is aggressive right now. It is aggressive.
Yeah.
SoFi.
Going to.
Yeah. All right, Steve. Thank you. Appreciate it. Steve's Twitter right there in the chat. You guys can check him out. We will. I'll talk to you soon after this.
And Costco's overvalued. Remember that.
Also, hold on real quick before Steve leaves. Okay. So, guys, I started a new show as I was sick over the weekend because I finally needed a new show to watch. And I found a show that actually can keep my attention. And if you've been part of the channel for a while, you know it's really hard for me to watch shows. Steve thinks the show I found is not an all-time great show. And I'm flabbergasted by the fact that he thinks it's not a great show.
My exact words were, it's good, not great.
Can we just get the chat to back me up on this? The West Wing is an all-time great show. Can we get the chat to back me up on this? Because he actually thinks like that's
it's
not
great.
No, it's phenomenal. It's not good. It's not great. It's phenomenal. Okay.
It's good, not great.
I'll let you know what the chat says. I'll let you know. All right. Talk later.
I mean, what do they say?
Let me do a poll real quick. It's kind of 50-50. You better not win this. Dude, it's a good show. It's a good freaking... No, it's a great show.
Good show.
No, it's a great show.
It's not great. It's not top 10. Right? Not top...
I watched it 10 years ago, and over the weekend, I realized why I watched it so long ago. Okay, so the poll is West Wing good or great? What do you say? Let's see. And I'm putting good as the first option, so I'm giving you the benefit of having good as the first option.
You can't put it against shows like 2.5 Men or
what?
Or Big Bang Theory or Sopranos or Entourage. You can't put it in that category.
Counter, by the way, below 90. Yes, it's better than all those shows.
Or Seinfeld. No, it's not. No, it's not.
I can't, dude. You guys really. After I'm sick, you guys can't back me up on this. 80% of people are saying it's good, not great.
Yeah, it's good, not great. Listen, I don't blow things out of proportion. I call it the way it is. I give credit where credit is due. It's good, not great.
I just don't think any of you guys understand TV. I really don't. Like,
This is coming from the person that's seen like 5 TV shows.
Dude, the West Wing is, I remember, like, over the weekend, I was like, you know what? I need something to watch. I turned on the West. I was like, this is a great show. Why have I waited 10 years to watch the show again? And now everyone's telling me it's a horrible show. Like, this is insane, bro. Insane.
I mean, it's good, not great.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Later.
How do you guys not have my back on that, dude? Like, I really thought I had an argument against Steve. Like I really thought I was going to win this one. That's sad, bro. That is sad. All right, let's get an update on CNBC. Things are crashing right now. We'll keep going from there, but we are seeing a lot of weakness right here in the broader markets.
Mentions, right? This is continuing to be a source of uncertainty for corporate America. You can look at S&P 500 companies and people actually chart this about tariff mentions. Obviously, it's skyrocketing as companies try to prepare for what it's going to look like, what it's going to mean for their cost structure, what it's going to mean for consumer demand. I do think one of the big debates, guys, is going to be the tariff impact on the economy. Everyone was worried about it being inflationary. It might just be a one-off inflationary. It might be a bigger problem for demand, like demand destruction and the actual economy. Last time we got tariffs, you know, the Trump administration likes to say we didn't see a big spike in inflation. We didn't. But a few months later, the Fed was cutting interest rates. I'm not saying just because of tariffs, but there's potentially concern here about the economic impact. Again, we don't know what they're going to look like. We don't know how much of it comes to fruition. We don't know how long it's going to last. But that's potential worry.
Well, you know, Sarah, it's funny because on that front, the two things that we've talked about for a long time now in terms of causing inflation, tariffs and or deportations, the sense I've gotten is that if you were to follow through on a mass deportations, very much unclear whether that will happen, that would have a much more significant impact, certainly on wage inflation in agriculture, construction, hospitality, certain parts of the economy.
Yeah, I mean, we've already had it.
All right, so CNBC is saying the tariff stuff is the reason we're red. I think that's probably one of the reasons. 89.56 on Palantir right now, 91.23, so it bounced off 89. Yeah, we are red, folks. Microsoft down 2%, Baba down 10%, S&P down 0.5%, Nvidia down 1/3%, HIMS, it was down 9%, now it's down 6%, Rocket Lab down 22.36, down 5%, SoFi, okay, 1381 was the bottom on SoFi at 10:30, or sorry, at not at 10:30, at what time was this? At 10:09. Are we seeing that V shape across the market? Hold on. Yeah, we're seeing the V shape across the market. 131.93 was the bottom at 10:09 on Nvidia. Palantir was 89.56 at 10:09. Rocket Lab, it was 21.72 at 10:09. So far we're seeing a V shape off 10:09. It's only 10:11, so it's only been 2 minutes. Not enough data to tell if that's a legit bottom on the day. Very similar to 3 days ago, 10:02 was the bottom. At this time, it's 10:09, maybe, if that's the bottom. 50.26, that was the bottom on SMCI at 10:09. Netflix, 984. Hood was at 48.53. Now we're at 49. Maybe that is a little bit of a small V shape we're seeing right now. Definitely tons of algos. Definitely tons of algos right here. What's the VIX? The VIX is up currently 5%, which makes sense with this type of volatility. So apparently the Friday sell-off is continuing. The Friday sell-off didn't kind of reverse from the futures that were green yesterday. Meta had 670. But the question is, Tesla as well, 324 at 10:08. That was, at least for now, a bit of a bottom. If we don't test those levels again, maybe we're in the clear for the rest of the day. Again, we have a lot of hours left, so we'll see. Grab as well. Grab hit 467, now back at 473. Grab kind of getting nuked with the rest of the market. Apple somehow is green off that $500 billion investment. Apple also being a flight to safety that people are going to. Nvidia just turned green. SoFi hit 1380. Now it's at 1406. And then Hood trying to make its way back up to 50 after falling to 48.53. All right, so what are you guys doing? Are you selling? Are you selling covered calls? Are you buying the dip? What are people doing? What are people doing right here? Is this pure algos? Definitely the 10:09 little pseudo V shape we're seeing across a bunch of stocks is absolutely algos. Will it last? I don't know, but each of these stocks bouncing up at least 2% from that 10:09 intraday low. and maybe we get to hold on to it. Now, for the companies that have earnings today, like Hims, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, based on their earnings, this thing could go super up or super down. So I think this move is not going to be controlled by algos after the bell. I have no idea what happens to Hims, bro. I don't understand the business well enough. I know it's up at more than 100% year to date. Got to 70, now at 45. Bank of America is super bearish, dude. Every report I read from Bank of America, they have like a $20 price target. So there's some companies that, or some sell side firms that believe that the GLP-1 stuff is BS. It's not real. It's not sustainable. Some people think that there's a larger personalized medicine moat. One thing that can't be denied is their growth is phenomenal. So I guess after the bell today, we're going to see how the market thinks of it. Palantir 92.20, still down 9% on the day. Palantir has wiped out about $30 billion of market cap today. Now 215 billion, was at 280 at the very top a couple days ago. Currently now at 92.17. We need a reverse bell, dude. We definitely need something to commemorate the new lows we see. Amit, should we invest in a siren device when the markets are tanking, just like we have the cowbell for the market open? Yeah, maybe. Where's Bitcoin, bro? So we don't even talk about Bitcoin anymore because it's so boring. Bitcoin 94, huh? See, get Bitcoin below 94 or below 90. That's going to get really interesting. And when we get Bitcoin to that 80 level, you're going to get a lot of, what's his name? Saylor bought another 20,000 Bitcoin on Friday at 97,000 coin. He raised $2 billion on Thursday at a 0% coupon, didn't dilute shareholders to get that money. The premium on the strike price of that $2 billion is 433. So MicroStrategy stock has to be at least 433 for the bond holders to break even. And then he bought $2 billion a day after raising it on Friday at 97,000. So Saylor continuously buying those high 90s and just accumulating more Bitcoin. But we are lower than that price right now at 94,890 on the day. All right, let's do a year to date now for everybody. I think I asked on Wednesday, and I think the average was 30%. I was up 30%. Now my year to date is this is disgusting, bro. It's 4%. Went from 30% to 4%. 3.49% to be exact. So there you go. Well, now it's 5%. All right, so that's a little bit better. Well, it is what it is. The market giveth, the market taketh away. The market taketh away. Dude, that's worse than January. January, I was up 18% year to date. So now we've basically given back a decent chunk of what we had in January. I mean, it is what it is. This is what you got to get used to when it comes to markets, and covered calls are a decent way to hedge. I'm not more of a buy puts type of a guy, but definitely covered calls can print against these things. One smart thing I did do is I got rid of my Amazon calls and I just started buying the stock instead. Because as soon as Amazon dropped 5% on earnings, my covered calls did well, but I had a feeling that the market's not ready to give Amazon or any Mag 7, quite frankly, any momentum. So I think that was one smart move, to just get rid of the calls and get into the stock instead. But besides that, I mean, we're giving away pretty much everything we got in the beginning of January to an extent. I mean, Palantir was at 83 before earnings. It's at 92. So it's still up a lot from earnings. But during the beginning of the year, at the very bottoms, we were at 63. So 92 versus 63 is obviously substantially higher, but it's down from 125. It's not where it was at the very top. Yeah, I see a lot of you guys, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. Some of you guys are still up 10% or 20%, but you were up 40%. It makes sense. When will you buy more Palantir? Well, look, I'm not buying it at 92. I mean, look, I've been pretty clear about this. The valuation on Palantir since $65, $70 has been incredibly aggressive. And to me, I would need a real dip to get excited about buying more Palantir. And I just don't think this is a real dip. Why do I think this is not a real dip? Because I don't, at 125, I mean, like, it was almost $300 billion. Like, although I enjoyed the run to 125, which I'm sure a lot of you guys did, I also knew, like, hey, it's extended. Like, we were ringing the bell every 5 minutes on the show. Like, at some point, probably was going to get too aggressive. So I don't know. I want, like, I don't know when the time is to buy Palantir. I think that's kind of a game time decision, and I'll let people know when I'm excited to buy more. I don't think this is I don't think if you're trading on momentum down 30%, yeah, you probably buy, right? But the problem is even at $91, Palantir is still trading on momentum because it's worth $215 billion. And that's not me saying it's expensive. I mean, the freaking company said that they didn't expect to be $70 till 2029. They didn't expect to be $70 till 2029. That's what their SEC filings say. And the fact that they got here so quickly should be a bit telling about how aggressive it happened without the growth. I mean, the growth is there, but it's not NVIDIA growth. It's not the type of growth NVIDIA showed in Q3 of 2023, where they went from, I think we went from $30 to $70 in like a day post split because of how aggressive, like instead of doing 6 billion of revenue, they did 11 billion of revenue. You know, like when you beat estimates by that type of a level, that's like a paradigm shift. Palantir had a paradigm shift without that type of a result. And that's why it was trading on momentum. So I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if we head back to the 80s. It also would not surprise me if we head back to the hundreds because it's momentum right now. But I guess we'll find out over the coming weeks. And then yeah, the insider selling, that doesn't help. The insider selling does not help. But again, don't blame the insiders for selling. We got Chris Hager in the chat. Shout out to Chris Hager. He is data-driven investing. He's up 6.4% year to date. We look at his content on the channel all the time to get updates on SoFi. I'm going to put his Twitter right here in the chat for anyone who wants to check him out. He also has a YouTube channel. Let me get his YouTube channel. I think he's coming out with a SoFi video today. So let's link his YouTube right here in the chat. Oh, it's already out. All right, cool. So he posted 19 minutes ago. There you go. So Chris, also known as DDI, really great resource when it comes to SoFi. Very helpful to the broader SoFi community. There's the YouTube video right there in the chat. Definitely make sure to subscribe to him. And you can get some SoFi Q4 analysis. His video on the loan platform on SoFi is what really got me to understand what SoFi is doing in terms of mitigating the amount of risk on their balance sheet while also capturing a lot of the upside from their lending business. So, and probably, you know, if that loan platform can scale, we'll expand the multiple beyond where the street's pricing them at right now. SoFi 1406 down about 4.2% currently as we get into the 10:30 part of the day. Yeah, we got a lot of DDI fans in the chat. DDI is the GOAT. I would 100%, dude, I would not have bought my SoFi options without his analysis. I mean, like, SoFi has been one of those stocks where it's been a tough journey, right? Because the stock stayed down more than its peers, the Palantirs, the Rocket Lab, the Robinhoods of the world. Eventually it made its move. It just took some more time. And while it's taking its time, you need a voice of reason that can actually filter through all the BS and try to get people to understand what's going on here. And I think Chris and Tanner are probably the best voices of reason on the internet that have helped people understand it. SoFi right here, 1409. We got Robinhood 4882. So again, I have not bought the Robinhood dip since the decline, and it's kind of been for this reason. This is the one time I'm actually a little proud of myself. I haven't jumped the gun. As soon as I saw it break from the earnings uptrend, in my opinion, it was ready to go lower because the street was not going to let Robinhood go higher while letting the rest of the market fall down. And so this is actually very reasonable to me. Makes a lot of sense. I got rid of all my sold puts after earnings day. Made a good chunk of money off that on the pump to 65, but it would not surprise me to see this thing normalize around 45. Now, if we break below 45, that's like a really nasty decline. I think 45 is kind of where we stop the pain, but it also depends, right? How bad does the market continue to go down? S&P now below 600, Microsoft below 400. There you go, down 2%. Below 400, Palantir's down below 90. Palantir's down below 90. Bryn Talkington says she would buy more hood in the 40s. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if it gets to the low 40s, I definitely will be buying more. I just don't think there's any urgency to get in while it's on its downtrend.